Welcome to the Pre-Snap Podcast presented by LineStar. I'm Shannon Sommerville with your top NFL player prop bets for the NFC Championship game. The Philadelphia Eagles hosting the Washington Commanders in an NFC East battle with a trip to the Super Bowl on the line. No pressure there. We've got a great matchup here. Of course, the big storyline in the playoffs has been Jayden Daniels and the Commanders finding their way to the NFC Championship game for the first time since 1991. Jayden Daniels has been unbelievable, showing unbelievable poise in the playoffs. On the other side of things, the Eagles have been a super balanced team. Looking at their numbers, 14-3 overall in the regular season, but second-ranked defense, fifth in scoring offense, led, of course, by Saquon Barkley. And what an awesome season that he has had as well. So this is shaping up to be quite the showdown. And Jayden Daniels, man, he has surprised me. I did not see that game against the Lions coming. Maybe I should have. Vic Fangio, the defensive coordinator for the Eagles in this one, knows that he's got his hands full this week. Basically, he said, young quarterback by birth certificate, not by tape. So my guess is he's been watching a lot of film on Jayden Daniels, but it's an incredible story. Will it end this week in Philadelphia? That's what we'll get into in this show, along with our best player prop bets. We'll have a touchdown call, and then at the end of the show, I'll tell you which way I'm leaning in terms of the sides. We'll get into that. We're, of course, always using our PropsAI tool on the LineStar app to help us find the best value. You can find that at linestarapp.com. Download one of our partner apps if you haven't already. Underdog, Sleeper, Chalkboard, ParlayPlay, and the latest partner, of course, is VIVIDPICKS. We'll be doing a contest with them this week as well. We did it last week. And speaking of last week, we absolutely crushed it. Got to set off the money gun for last week's performance because taking a look at this nice graphic that I made for you guys, we killed it. 9 of 13 correct picks, which is, I think, pretty good, especially considering it's divisional round. I feel like player props get tougher in the playoffs. Also, we cashed in on 4 of 8 touchdown calls. All right, let's get into this VIVIDPICKS offer right now. Take advantage while it lasts. Get a $250 deposit match plus up to a $25 secured play using promo code LineStar. Just remember to keep using that promo code LineStar for all of these offers. That is key. And the contest that we will be rolling out this week is going to be the VIVIDPICKS promo play. And we're pairing it with our favorite play. And if that doesn't cash, basically we're giving one randomly selected commenter $20. We feel like this is a win-win situation for you guys. So if you tail us and we win, you win. If you tail us and we lose, we just give you back your money. So to enter into that contest, again, it's just going to one randomly selected commenter. So make sure you comment below. You can also comment if you've got any locks for this weekend, because I'll tell you what, I was handicapping this thing. This is a tough one to look at, a tough board, especially considering the injuries, which we'll get into in just a moment. But first things first, the weather, because that did impact things last week a little bit. Very slick ball last week in Philadelphia. That probably won't be the case this week. We are looking at some pretty good temperatures, mostly cloudy skies, high of 41. Temps will get colder, but the biggest news here is going to be that injury report and something to watch throughout the week. We do know that for the Washington Commanders, a big blow to their offensive line is Sam Cosmi. Was confirmed that he tore his ACL. He's out for the playoffs. That's significant because it'll be up to backup Trent Scott, who only started one game this season. Now he's got to contend with Jalen Carter and company. Good luck with that. That's a tough task. So keep an eye on that one. And then for Philadelphia, Dallas Goedert did not practice with an ankle injury. Should note that these are just estimated on their Wednesday walkthrough. Also, of course, the biggest storyline for the injury report is going to be Jalen Hurts and what is his mobility looking like dealing with a knee injury. But he was listed as limited today, so not a complete DMP. And cornerback Quinion Mitchell, who's been phenomenal this season, just shutting opposing wide receivers down. He's listed as limited, but did deal with that shoulder injury after that tackle on Matthew Stafford. He left the game and didn't return, but it's looking like both Hurts and Mitchell will be playing this weekend. We just don't know the severity of those injuries, but they're going to put it all on the table to try to get a trip to the Super Bowl in this one. All right, so all that out of the way, now let's just dive into these player prop bets. We're going to start off with tight end Dallas Goedert, over 35.5 receiving yards. LineStar in the consensus, they're with us on the over. In fact, Goedert this season averaging 49.6 receiving yards per game, and he's been over in both playoff games. I feel like the line's just lowered a bit, maybe because of that ankle injury, but I still like it either way because I think this is a great matchup against a Washington Commanders defense that ranks 26th in pass defense DVOA versus opposing teams' tight end. He's only faced them once this year, back in week 11. He had 61 receiving yards in that game. But even with the injury we'll keep an eye on, but this is a guy who's 6'5", 250, can break tackles and run through defenders like nobody's business. That's a great option too for Jalen Hurts, especially considering that he might have to have some underneath options. When you look at the way the Commanders might decide to play this on defense, knowing that Jalen Hurts might not be as mobile, could they stack the box a little bit, put a little bit more pressure or blitz on Jalen Hurts to try to speed him up a little bit? And in those situations, who's a great safety valve? Dallas Goedert. So I like the play here for Dallas Goedert over on his receiving yards. Next up, we're going to keep it with the Eagles here. DeVonta Smith, over 46.5 receiving yards. I like this play here. Couldn't really decide to go in terms of the receiving option here because I do think that the Commanders are going to force Jalen Hurts to throw the ball in this one. LineStar's projection and the consensus are to the over. Smith is averaging 64 receiving yards per game during the regular season. I know he had just 21 receiving yards last game against the Rams, but when you look at the Commanders and the way they play defense, especially the way they played defense last week against the Lions, they've been using the second highest rate of zone defense among all the playoff teams, and they played zone on 35 of 40 dropbacks versus Jared Goff. So if they decide to go this way, that zone defense heavy versus Philadelphia, usually it's DeVonta Smith who benefits from the targets in his zone defense. He's just been great versus zone, in part due to just his overall feel and instincts in those situations. He had 51 receiving yards and 29 receiving yards against Washington during the regular season. He's good versus man coverage too. Should note that. He's not just good versus zone, but I think in those man looks, it's A.J. Brown who gets more of the targets, but still liking the way we're going to play things here in terms of trying to predict how Dan Quinn's going to run his defense against the Eagles in this one. So I like where we're going with DeVonta Smith here. He's a great pass catcher for the Eagles that will be called upon in this one. Another receiver who will be called upon if the Commanders have any shot is going to be Scary Terry. And he's definitely shown that he is scary this season, especially in the playoffs. We're just going to go right back to him. I know the Eagles' pass defense is phenomenal, and Terry has a really tough matchup, but I love Terry McLaurin over 63.5 receiving yards. And LineStar likes it too. 66 is our projection for him this week. He had 87 and 89 respectively in the two playoff games. And yes, he's going against a good Eagles pass defense. We have to admit that. Second in pass defense DVOA this year. Tough matchups against the like of Quinion Mitchell, Darius Slay and company. Here's what I think, though. Cliff Kingsbury, he's going to be in his bag scheming ways for Terry McLaurin to get the ball. And the chemistry that McLaurin has with Jaden Daniels is unparalleled. Also, his precise route running creates space, but really his ability to attack the ball in flight just stands out. 67.6% contested catch rate, third among all receivers, and he's going to have some battles on his hands with some of those Eagles secondary, and it's definitely going to be a battle. But if Washington trails like the spread currently indicates, that could call for a passing game script here. So I'm willing to take Terry McLaurin against an Eagles pass defense, given the game script and the environment here, and the fact that we know Cliff Kingsbury's going to have some tricks up his sleeve to try to get the ball to one of his best playmakers on offense. So those are my top three. A couple others I was considering, but ultimately didn't decide to go with. I feel like I'll just share them with you guys and do with it what you will, okay? A.J. Brown, I feel like he's got to pop one of these days, right? I know he's kind of dealing with a knee injury. He had some uncharacteristic drops last week, which he attributed to kind of the ball being a little bit slick due to the weather conditions. Saquon Barkley is also a pretty good option as well. I know this line is creeping up pretty high. 127 rush yards is what I last saw it at. I'm going to be honest. I took the over on an entry or two on Underdog. So it's high. There's not much value there, but let me know where you guys are headed in the comments. I'm curious where other people have found some edge. This was a really tough matchup to kind of handicap and predict, and look at those props. I really leaned into the PropsAI tool in this one. So hopefully, just like last week, we have some success this week. Again, comment below. It enters you into our prop bets contest. But for our top pick that we're pairing with that VIVIDPICKS promo, we're going to go Dallas Goedert. I feel like that's the one I have the most confidence in. Yes, I know he did pop up on the injury report. I'm keeping an eye on it, but that's the one I feel most confident in. So let me know what you think in the comments. Now it's time for touchdown calls of the game. And in this NFC championship game with a trip to the Super Bowl on the line, I could go Saquon Barkley, but there's not much return on investment for him in this one. I think it's minus 260 for an anytime touchdown. So we're not getting a lot of value there. But where we are getting value is with my pick here for the Commanders tight end Zach Ertz to find the end zone at plus 290. Ertz has 10 red zone targets over the last 4 weeks. That's the most of any pass catcher in the playoffs. And he's got 8 touchdowns, including the one last week versus the Lions, plus 4 receiving touchdowns over the last 4 weeks. That's the most of anyone playing this weekend. Given the fact that he's been so heavily targeted, I like his odds this week. Plus 290 is a great price tag. I do know that he is going up against a tough Eagles defense, especially a red zone defense that's been one of the best in the league. But we're talking about one of the best pass catching tight ends in the league coming up clutch. I think Zach Ertz plus 290 is great value here, especially given the fact that he's been targeted so heavily in the playoffs. So we're going to go there for our pick. And lastly, we've got to pick against the spread here. But I think I got to go with the Philadelphia Eagles here to cover, even though it's 6.5. I don't love that. However, I just think the Eagles have been the more complete team. Even though Jalen Hurts is a concern, being a little bit banged up with that knee injury in this one, who do they have on their side? Saquon Barkley, one of the best rushers in the game against a rushing defense that's been pretty porous at times over the course of the season. He had over 120 versus them in both contests in the regular season. I could see him repeating that once again. And if they can control the ground game, control the clock, I think they come away with the win in this one. Also, the Eagles defense has been phenomenal, and maybe not enough has been paid attention to that defensive side of things because they've got so many stars on the offensive side of the ball. But Jalen Carter, man, he's an absolute beast that's going to wreak havoc against Jaden Daniels in this one. Jaden Daniels has been an amazing story, but I think the Cinderella story ends in Philadelphia. So I'm going to roll with the Eagles here. Fly, Eagles, fly, I guess, to cover that 6.5 point spread. We'll see how that one plays out for me. Might not age well. Let me know in the comments where you're headed in terms of picks. If you've got any locks for us in terms of those prop bets, let me know in the comments. Oh, and I have one last promo for you guys to take advantage of. Make sure to check out our new partner, Dabble. Use promo code LineStar and receive a free $25 on sign up. This is a limited time only deal. It ends January 26th. So download it today. Again, the key is to use that promo code LineStar. The link is below to that. But best of luck to you guys in all of your picks and betting this weekend. Should be a fun Sunday, that's for sure. Good luck, everyone. We'll see you next time.